In today's video, we're going to be learning a solo ukulele arrangement of Someone to Watch Over Me by George Gershwin. This was actually voted on over at my Patreon page, where every month I do a different tutorial based on suggestions of the patrons. Then we do a vote, see what wins, and this one was this month's winner. And I think it won because it's an absolutely beautiful melody that translates really well to the ukulele in this chord melody style. What that means is we're going to be layering this melody along with chords together to create this really rich harmony and just a beautiful thing to play. So let's go ahead and dive in with the beginning. I'm going to bring the camera down now. It's going to look something like this. If you'd like to download a copy of this tab, the link is down below on my Patreon page where you can join as a member or just purchase the tab. But this whole stanza here has a lot of chords, a lot of movement. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So we're going to be using a couple different techniques here. The first one is when you look at this, you see the very first thing that's listed here is 0003 with this little 3/4 square in parentheses. That's a lot going on. What this means is, well, the parentheses is telling you it's a filler note. It means we're going to play this nice and soft. And the little 3/4 square is a down strum marker. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a C chord, just that third fret here with the ring finger on the A string. And we're going to strum through with just the thumb going down nice and soft. And I'm using the thumb here because it's all in parentheses and I want it to be this filler note. You'll notice there's no lyric associated with it, so we want it to be nice and quiet. As I go through the melody, I'm going to be using what's called a rest stroke technique. There's actually a video linked right here if you've never done this before, but I like to call it melodic picking, playing all with the thumb here. And when these melody notes are represented, I'm going to be really articulating them well with the thumb, both for individual notes and when there's a full chord listed. So I know there's a lot going on already at the beginning of this tutorial, but this is what this stanza should sound like using some of these techniques. It should sound something like this. So it's this really cool layered sound created by using the thumb to do these nice soft downstrokes when there aren't melody words represented, and using the thumb to articulate the melody otherwise. So when we look at this in the beginning, we're going to do that first downstrung on the C chord that I just mentioned. And now let's go ahead and play this first measure, which are going to be the words, "There's a somebody I'm." To play this is almost a C major scale. We're going to start by taking our thumb, playing an open C string. Then the second fret on the C string with our middle finger here. Open on the E string. 3 on the E with our ring finger. Open on the A. And then 3 on the A with our ring finger. Now if you know some scales, this is actually a C major pentatonic scale. And if you don't know your scales, well, you now know that you can play a C major pentatonic scale by just playing "There's Somebody I'm." Now, the next part here, when it goes to longing to see, this is actually one of the harder parts of the song to make sound really smooth. What you want to make sure you do is this ring finger here that's on the 3rd fret from the word I'm, you're going to slide it up to the 5th fret of the A string, and you're going to maintain that contact there. Now, it's not written as a slide, but by doing this, you then will stack the middle finger on 5 of the E and the index on 5 of the C, making sure you get right up next to that fret wire best you can. Angling the fingers towards the right shoulder can really help with that. And then I'm going to strum through my C, E, and A strings. It's really important to try to maintain that contact with the ring finger to make it sound smoother. Now this arrangement works with both high G and low G, but if you're playing high G like me, you can play the open G there too. Sounds kind of nice. If you're playing low G, it doesn't sound quite as nice. But that's long, and then ing is going to be the 5 on the A again. And then maintaining contact with that ring finger, we're going to take off the other 2 fingers, slide that ring finger down to 3 on the A. And as we do this, we're going to play that 3rd fret on the A string. So it goes longing to, and then we're going to take that ring finger, slide it down 1 more to the 2nd fret on the A string to build this G7 chord, which is 0, 2, 1, and 2 with our middle fingers and index fingers on the C and E strings while the ring stays there on the A string. And we're going to strum through that for the word C. And then you'll notice it's got that little 3/4 square. So we're going to take that thumb and we're going to softly strum it in the background. Doing these filler strums this way creates it almost like a duet type of vibe of the arrangement. It's really fun. Going into the next measure here, we're going to take that ring finger, move it up to 3, take everything else off for the C chord, play all the way through all 4 strings with the thumb, I, and then hope, and then we're going to play 2 on the A for the word that, I like to use my middle finger there. And then I need to take this finger off, and I need to jump some fingers around. My index finger is going to go here to the 2nd fret of the G string, ring finger here to the 3rd fret of the C string, and my middle finger here to the 2nd fret of the E string. So we have 2, 3, 2, 0. Strum through all 4. And then I'm going to do a nice soft filler strum after that. So we have, I hope that he, going in the last measure of this stanza, we're going to go back to our G7 chord. So a lot of flip-flopping here, right? Index finger to the 1st fret of the E string, middle finger to the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger to the 2nd fret of the A string. Strum through with the thumb for the word turns, and then out, play the 2 on the A. Then open on the A by just taking that ring finger off. And then we're going to flip-flop our fingers here. We're going to take our index finger, move it up to the 1st fret of the C string. Middle finger comes off, and ring finger goes to the 3rd fret of the E string. I'm going to strum my G, C, and E strings, stopping on that A string using that rest stroke technique I mentioned earlier. And then we're going to do a down strum with the thumb nice and soft for that filler. So that very last part of the stanza sounds like this. Turns out to be... And so that you can hear it, here's the entirety of this first stanza, played measures 1 through 4. It should sound something like this. Now as we go on to the next stanza here, it's going to sound something like this as we play it through. Now note there is a repeat here. So you'll notice I'm going to play to the end of measure 8, and that should sound something like this. So these measures 5 through 8 to play them. We're going to start with this D minor chord. So we were just here at this 1, 3, 0, right? So now we're going to just kind of flip-flop our fingers. You can play a D minor chord with your middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the G, ring finger here on the 2nd fret of the C, and index here on the 1st fret of the E. You also could do the 2-finger variation. If you know that, great. If you don't worry about it. Just stick with 3 fingers. You'll notice the A string's not written with this filler strum. Now, if you do this strum and you accidentally hit that, totally fine. The reason it's not written there is just because our melody note on the next thing for the word some is going to be open on the A. So we're trying to avoid that melody note prematurely. So we just are kind of strumming this nice and soft in the background. Then we're going to articulate that open A for the word some. And then 1, we're going to be flip-flopping. So we actually played this chord earlier, this 1 with the index on the C string, 3 on the E string with our ring finger, strum through our G, C, and E. And that's going to be 1. And then 2, we're going to flip back to the D minor, but we don't need a full D minor. Just the middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, and our index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string. Pluck those 2 strings with the thumb is all we need. So we have some, 1, 2. And then we go to our first bar chord of the song. Now, bar chords can be really tricky. The trick with this one, well, it's got a tricky name. F sharp half diminished. Oh my word. All that we do for this is we take the index finger, bar it all the way across the 2nd fret. Make sure that you hug the fret wire. What I mean by this is I'm not right in between the frets. I'm going right up next to that wire. You can see that that index finger gets as close to the wire as it can without going over it, right? You'll also notice that I actually like to turn my finger a little bit away from the ukulele. See how my finger is going kind of towards the headstock? That seems counterintuitive, but what it lets me do is it lets me cinch up a bit more next to that fret wire. Then in addition to that, I'm going to take my middle finger, place it here on the 3rd fret of the A string, and then I have to cross the ring finger up and over to the 4th fret of the C string. This is a tricky chord, especially if you haven't played it before. Make sure that that ring finger has a nice arch to that first knuckle right here so that you're not touching any other strings. And that chord is going to sound like this. 2, 4, 2, 3. F sharp, half diminished. And after we played that with our thumb, we're then going to take our thumb and play it again soft in the background, because again, this is in parentheses. And then we're going to play over. To do that, we're going to play a G7, which we played before, right? Middle finger here on the C string, 2nd fret, index on the 1st fret of the E, and then the ring finger here on the 2nd fret of the A. But we're going to kick that ring finger out 1 to the 3rd fret on the A string. Strum through all 4 strings. And then we're going to play 5 on the A, stretching the pinky out there. So that measure is watch over. And now we go to the first ending. So you see this is measures 7 and 8. I really like this part because it's a good showcasing of the harmony of the background, how we're trying to layer these parts together, because there's only one melody note, and that's me with the C chord. And then you see everything's in parentheses. So we're going to play these nice and soft with the thumb in the background, sort of like you can imagine the me as the vocalist, and then this background part is like a guitarist playing in the background. It sounds so nice. And the way we do this is very simple. We play through the C chord with the thumb. Then we're going to strum softly with the thumb. Now, one quick note, you'll notice as I do this, my hand angle changes a lot. That's because I like to use more of the pad of the thumb, really soft with those strums. This is a good place to really practice this because we have 6 consecutive strums in a row that we're going to play with the thumb. So using the side of the thumb, we're going to play that C chord. Then I'm going to play E7 sharp 5. Big name, not that scary to play. Leave the ring finger where it is. Take the middle finger, add it on the 2nd fret of the C string. Index finger here to the 1st fret of the G string. Make sure you're arching those fingertips so that you're not touching any other strings. And then you're going to strum through twice on that one. And then we're going to go to an F chord, a little bit different than you might normally play an F. We're going to leave the ring finger where it is. And we're going to flip-flop the middle and index fingers. Index finger goes down to the 1st fret of the E string. The middle finger crosses up to the 2nd fret of the G string. So a normal F chord with that ring finger added. And we're going to strum that twice. Really nice sound. Then we go to a G7. To do this, index finger stays where it is. Ring finger slides down 1 fret to fret 2. And the middle finger goes down 1 string to the C string. See how that's not actually that difficult of a transition when you can see that pivot point. And you'll notice that with the F, my fingers are kind of straight up and down. With the G7, they kind of tilt towards my shoulder, and that helps me get that angle. I'm going to strum that chord just once. And so that sounds something like this, starting with me on measure 7. And at this point, it actually repeats. But so that you can hear it, here's measures 5, 6, 7, and 8. Should sound something like this. And at this point, it repeats. We go back to measure 1. Now at this point, instead of doing the repeat again, you see how this one has a first ending marker. First ending is what we do the first time through. But the second time through, we go on to our second ending marker, which looks something like this. This is pretty straightforward. We're going to play a C chord with all the way through, right? It's going to be the word me again. And then we're going to play a C7, index finger here on the 1st fret of the A string. And then we're going to play an F, 2 with the middle on the G, 1 with the index on the E. And then G7, just pivot on that index finger, 0, 2, 1, 2. We've played this a few times. Notice how these are all soft in the background. So the second ending sounds like this. It's just 4 beats, but it switches chords on each beat. It's kind of a cool sound, very classic Gershwin type of sound. And from here, we go on to our next melodic section of the song. And this section's actually a little bit easier, and it's really rich to play despite its simplicity. And so this is what the next set of stanzas look like, measures 10 through 13. And to play this, well, it's going to sound something like this. So it's pretty simple comparatively, a lot less movement, but a lot of opportunity for a really good, what we call legato sound, which is where we let these notes really ring into each other. We're going to start with the C chord, and we're going to do our nice soft withdrawn strum in the background. Then we're going to play 2 on the C. I like to use my middle finger here, and then open on the E. 3 on the E. I like to use my ring finger here. And those are the words, although he. And going on, we are going to play May Not Be the Man Some Girls Think of As, and you'll notice that most of this is melody with a couple little filler strums in there. So let's go and break this down. With that measure 11, we're going to play this F chord. Well, it's not really an F chord. It's got some tension in it. We're going to play 0 on the C, 1 on the E, and 2 on the A. Just strum through the C, E, and A strings. If you're playing high G like me, though, go ahead and use your open G. Makes it just that much richer. For playing low G, you could try it, but I don't think you'll like the sound as much. And then after I've strummed through either 3 strings or all 4, I'm going to play 3 on the A by just taking the ring finger and adding it. Really important to leave the pressure on with these 2 fingers because we want this note to continue sustaining the whole time. And this note we're going to come right back to. See how it goes back and forth between the 2 to the 3 to the 2 to the 3. So just leaving that finger in place makes it easier, and that gives you may not be the. And then we're going to play the next part here. We're going to stretch the pinky out to 5 on the A. Now, if it's too difficult to have all of these fingers in play, that's okay. You can take off the middle and ring fingers to get that pinky on 5. Strum through this. And then we're going to play the 3 on the A, taking that pinky off, putting the ring finger back on. And then we're going to do a filler strum. And then we're going to play 2 on the A. And then we're going to go back up to 5. And we're going to play 3 again. And then a filler strum. And then 2 on the A again with the middle. So you see those last 2 measures, 12 and 13, are the same measure played. And those sound like this. It goes, man, some girls think of as. Love this stretch. It just sounds so sweet despite being relatively simple. And it sounds something like this, measures 10 through 13. Going into the next set, 14 through 17 should sound something like this. So a little bit more filler here, not a whole lot more. A few more chords though. We're going to start with a C chord, very straightforward. Open on the G, C, and E strings. Pinky stretched out here to the 5th fret of the A string. Strum through all 4 strings together, and that's going to be for the word hand of handsome. Then we'll play 3 on the A. Now, there's a few different ways that you can play this 3 on the A. But if you want to set things up, I like to use the ring finger here. And then we're going to strum through the filler strum there after the word handsome. So it goes handsome. And play open on the A. But keep this ring finger ready to go, because this is the word 2. The next word here of my is my heart, this B7 chord, so our second bar chord of the song. This one is pretty tricky. We're going to bar all the way across the 2nd fret. Then we're going to take our middle finger, place it here on the 3rd fret of this C string. And then we need to take this ring finger and squeeze it in underneath to the 3rd fret of the A string. So remember how I said using that 3 can help set up? The reason is we're trying to get that finger in to get 2, 3, 2, 3, this very tricky chord. And then we need to play that and then take off that ring finger for the 2nd fret on the A string. So this is a B7 chord, 2, 3, 2, 2. And we just have this little melodic movement of this note, this C note, going down to the B. And it makes it quite challenging, but good thing to practice. Keep the finger nice and straight to the fret wire, and you'll get it. We're going to do a filler strum there. Play open on the A. So take the fingers all off. So that so far looks something like this. Handsome to my heart, he. Going in the next part here for words carries, we're going to play E7, 1, 2, 0, 2, except we're going to add the 3. There's 2 ways you can add the 3 here. You can slide the ring finger out so that you've got 1st fret on the G with the index, 2nd fret on the C with the middle, and the 3rd fret here on the A with the ring, or you can use the pinky. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of neat to use the pinky because you then just take it off for that 2nd fret with the ring finger. So that goes carries, and then filler strum on that. And then we're going to play 4 on the E string for the word the. Pinky just stretches out there. If you're playing a high G though, you can also play 1 on the G. That works as well. So it depends on the tuning, but 4 works on all tunings. And then we're going to go to an A7 chord here. So take all the fingers off and index moves to the 1st fret of the C string. We're going to strum through our G, C, and E strings together. Then we're going to do a filler strum. So those last 2 bars go carries the key. And 14 through 17 as a full part should sound something like this. Going right into the next stanza here, measures 18 through 21 should sound something like this. Now, this should be pretty cool because if you've worked on the tutorial to this point, you know three of these bars, right? The first bar, 18 here, plays a D7, just bar all the way across the second fret of the G, C, E, and A, and then take the middle finger, add it here on the third fret of the A string, strum through that just once. Then we're gonna play a G7, so we're gonna pivot all the fingers around, middle finger, second fret of the C, index, first fret of the E, and ring finger, second fret of the A. No problem there, we just strum and strum. And then measure 19, well, measure 19 is exactly the same as measure 1. This is what's cool about this, is the song just repeats. We're back to this first melodic section. This song has what we call an AABA format. And all that means is when you look at the beginning of the song, we play that first melody and then we repeat it, right? So we play A and then we play A again. And then we went on to this other melody section, which started there as we looked at measure 10. That's our B melody. And when we finish the B melody, which we do here at 18, we go on to measure 19, and that's the A melody again. And what's neat about it is it's exactly the same as what we played before. There's no variation whatsoever. It's the same C chord, same pentatonic scale we talked about. It's all the same. And now as we go on to the next stanza here, which is the final stanza of the song, you'll notice it's more of the same stuff all the way until the end. So we play, and it sounds something like this. I'm going to play 22 through the end. Should sound like... Kind of neat, right? Well, we start there at 22 with the same... So 22 and 23, we already know because 22 and 23 are going to be exactly the same as what we've played on earlier parts as 4 and 5, right? They're exactly the same measures. So no explanation needed there, but then we go on to 24 and it changes a little bit. We're going to play that same F sharp half diminished chord. So we played that earlier, but this time it's got a fermata. What's a fermata? Well, fermata means we're going to hold this note indefinitely. We're just going to strum it, let it ring until you feel like it's ready to move on. And when you're ready to move on, you go to that same 0, 2, 1, 3 chord that we've played a few different times with the middle finger on the second fret of the C string, index here on the first fret of the E string, ring finger here on the third fret of the A. But this time, instead of just strumming through, we're going to take our index finger and we're going to down strum and up strum, keeping our finger nice and loose, strumming right where I call the sweet spot, right where the fretboard meets the body of the ukulele, and try to strum it softly and fast and kind of have it swell a little bit with the speed. This is for the word O of over, and for ver of over, we're going to take this and we're going to slide it up. We're going to slide the middle finger up to 5, the index finger to 4, and the ring finger only to 5. So see how they're offset? You have to kind of turn the hand a little bit so you get 0, 4, 5, 0, 5, 4, 5. This chord, really spicy sounding chord. You see all that I'm doing is turning the hand and moving it up. And what I do is I keep the strumming going. Slow it nice and down. And then I just strum a C chord to end it. So that might be a little confusing looking, but if I just play the words over me, it's going to look something like this. Over me. Kind of nice, right? Now, if this is really challenging and it's discouraging to try to do, you can just strum them once. And that works great, but this little, what we call tremolo strum, nice for adding some drama to it. And there you have it. That is the end of this song. So I'm going to bring the camera back up here. This is a really wonderful chord melody arrangement. And again, the words chord melody means that we're going to be playing the melody of the song, which is the vocal part, alongside the chords, which is the harmony. And what we're going to do is layer them together. So sometimes we're playing chords and melody at the same time. Other times we're just playing melody. That's when we're articulating those individual notes. And then other times we're going to play just chords, and that's when we're playing this sort of background. This is what makes this kind of like a magic trick, and it's why it's my favorite style to play on the ukulele. I actually did an entire course on chord melody arranging called How to Unlock Ukulele Chord Melodies. It's available for purchase on Ukulele Underground as well as for streaming on my Patreon page. All the links are down below. The reason I love the course so much is because it doesn't just teach you how to play a little bit of chord melody, but it actually teaches you how you can make your own. And it takes you through the same process I did when I made this arrangement. I grabbed sheet music, found exactly how to play, arranged it for the ukulele. That course breaks it all down in the exact way that I do it for myself. So I know it works. It's a lot of fun to do. But anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. If you're a member of my Patreon, thank you so much for the support. I was so excited when this song won this month's vote, and I can't wait to see what you decide for next month's tutorial. Thank you again. Take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.